Hey guys, how's it going? My name's Shaman, and I'm coming out with another Elemental Shaman guide for patch 7.1. In this video, we're going to be talking about trinkets, your artifact relics, your legendaries, and your artifact build path. What is the best right now? I've been getting so many questions on this stuff, so I decided to make a video about it. Let's get started with trinkets, and we're going to cover a big-ass chart. No, I'm joking. We're just going to cover 6 of them, but I wanted to put this up here and explain what is going on here, because all the information in this video can be found in the Discord and the Shaman Discord server named Earth Shrine. You guys can find all the information there. I'm just bringing it out to you guys in a video. So let's get started. What is this chart saying? This chart's basically telling us what damage increase percentage-wise we get by equipping which trinket at a certain item level. So let's get started with the first 6. The first one being a Ran's or Aren's Relaxing Ruby. This is actually dropped from the dungeon Return to Karazhan off of the boss Shade of Medivh. Let's read what it says. So you get a base stat of Mastery, and your ranged attacks and spells have a chance to create a Flame Wraith beneath your target. After 6 seconds, or if they move out of the ring, it explodes for 272,489 fire damage to all enemies within 12 yards. This is huge for single target and even bigger for AoE. It's an insanely good trinket. I recommend trying to farm this every week. It's going to do you too good. Even at 860 item level, it does better than almost all the other trinkets at their higher item levels. It's nuts. It's absolutely nuts. I recommend trying to get this. Moving on to our next trinket. This one actually drops off of the world boss Withered Gem. This is your second best trinket. The Unstable Arcano Crystal. It's pretty much just a stat stick, but those stats are just going to increase your damage by a shit ton. So let's cover the next trinket. This is actually Neuraxis' Spiked Tongue. This drops off of Neltharion's Lair from the boss Neuraxis. It gives you Mastery, again a stat that we don't like, but we're looking after the effect, not what stats it gives you in this situation. Your ranged attacks and spells have a chance to launch a Ball of Venom that deals up to 169,671 nature damage based on your distance from the target. A note to have for this, your Call the Thunder relic and trait on your artifact weapon actually increases this damage because it is nature damage. Keep that in mind. So you're doing an extra percentage of damage on that trinket with those traits. Let's go on to the next one, the Devilosaur Shock Baton. Now I actually don't even have a Shock Baton in my inventory, or it's not in a loot table somewhere that I can find in the game, but I found it online and we're going to put it up on screen for you. So this trinket basically gives you crit, which is our #1 stat, which is nice, but it also deals an amount of nature damage based on the item level of the trinket, obviously, and it slows the target for 50% for 6 seconds. This is also nature damage, so it's also going to be increased by your Call the Thunder traits on your artifact weapon. Moving on to the next trinket. That was the 4th best trinket. Your Oakheart's Gnarled Root. This is a trinket that drops off of the Darkheart Thicket boss, Oakheart. At 840 item level, it gives you a versatility stat, and your ranged attacks and spells have a chance to deal an additional 156,111 shadow damage over 6 seconds, and reduce the target's movement speed by 30%. This scales well with item level, and versatility is very useful as it gives you percentage increase on all your spells. The last one we're going to be talking about for trinkets is Ayusu's Mulligan. Now this received a recent buff, and now that the sims are currently working, it's actually scaling a lot better at higher item levels. At 810, and I want to say that this trinket is a world drop from various mobs that you can find out in the Broken Isles. I'm going to put a link to the description for both the Shock Baton, how to get that. It's from a quest line called, oh jeez, I have it right here actually, Life Finds a Way. That's the quest line name, but there's a series of quests you need to do in order to unlock the world quest. So I'm going to put the link to all that information down below, as well as a useless mulligan, where you can find it, what mobs drop it at the highest percentage drop rate, and so forth. I have not even seen a higher item level of like 860 for this trinket. It's very rare, obviously, to get an 890, but it's worth talking about because it does a lot of damage if it's at higher item level. It gives you intellect, and every time you use it, it randomly picks a card from its pile. It's not gonna just take one out of the pile and then you can't get that one for a while. So you can get 2 crit cards in a row, 2 haste, whatever, 2 mastery if it sucks. But anyway, it's really great for burst situations as well as a 2-minute cooldown. It's amazing. I love this trinket. I used to use it actually when I bought it off the auction house, and it was fantastic until I replaced it with a better trinket at the time. So definitely recommend trying to get that. You can buy it off the auction house, or if you're lucky and you find it in the world somewhere, it's really cool. Moving on to relics. What are the best relics for which spec you're going to choose? Whether you choose Lightning Rod, not really spec, but talent build, Lightning Rod or Ascendance. There's 2 different relic paths that you want to look after. Let's cover the Lightning Rod relic paths and the rankings of them. Call the Thunder, increase your nature damage. Pretty much straightforward. You're doing more Lightning Rod damage. You're already spamming your Lightning Bolt, so it's doing more damage from that. Your Earth Shock also benefits from it. It's the best one for that spec. Then we have your Firestorm and your Earth and Attunement. Going over to your Ascendance traits, Lava Imbued is your best one, followed by Firestorm and then Earth and Attunement. In this video, we're actually going to be covering where you can get these relics, what bosses they drop off of, because there's actually quite a lot of places, and I wrote all this down, so we're going to be doing that in this video. Starting off with the Call of the Thunder relic, where can it drop from? So the first one that we're going to be covering is actually the newest raid, Trial of Valor, from Guarm. This drops the newest relic, Shield and Scissor. You can get it there. At normal, it's at 855 item level. You can roll up really nicely. So yeah, you can get the first one from there. The second one is going to be from the Return to Karazhan dungeon at the boss Opera Hall Westfall Story. Obviously, this is a random event, so you can get one of the 3. But I wanted to note this because I've gotten this one actually. I have it. It was really cool to get it. But yeah, you can get it from there. The next one is from another dungeon in Mauve Souls from Helya. Sea Cursed Mist. This is your other Call of the Thunder relic. The last one is from Vault of the Wardens from Cordana Fellsong. The Moonglade Dervish. Moonglade Dervish. There you go. So yeah, it drops off of there. So now we're going to be covering Firestorm relics. Where can you get Firestorm relics? Your second best relic that you can use. 2 of them actually drop off of your Emerald Nightmare. One being from Cenarius, the Uplifting Emerald. Sorry, only one drops off of Emerald Nightmare. Lava Imbued, there's 2. My mistake. So yeah, the first one off of Cenarius, and then we're going back to Return of Karazhan. On the best boss in there for us, Shade of Medivh, drops another Firestorm relic from him. Really nice. This boss is just amazing for us. We can get Sunfire Illusion, totally cool. The best trinket in the game for us right now. And, you know, the second best Firestorm relic for our artifact weapon. So the next one that we're going to be covering is from King Deepbeard from Ivajara. You can get one from him. And then also going back to Maw of Souls for another relic. You can get it from Yimron, the Fallen King. God, I'm terrible with names, I swear. Okay, moving on to Earth and Attunement drops. The relics for Earth and Attunement. That's this one right here. Where can you find those? So, one drops off of a world boss. Durgon the Frostblood. There you go. Finally got one right. Drugon. Didn't get it right. Okay. So that's where this one drops. Another one from Shivermaw. A dungeon. Assault on Violet Hold. She drops one. She actually drops 2 relics, but this is the better one, obviously, because it's Earth and Attunement. This one, Protection of the Elements, kind of sucks. You know, Healing Surge, we don't really want it using that too much. But we wanted this one, the Frostworm Heart. Try and get that one. If you want to go after the Earth and Attunement one. And the last one drops off of the Arquay Advisor Vandross. This one right here. It's a Storm Relic, Accelerating a Torrent. There you go. The last relics that we're going to be talking about in this video is the Lava Imbued one for your Lava Burst build path for your talents. So let's go over where you can find those. 2 of them drop from the raid Emerald Nightmare. One off of Il'gynoth, Heart of Corruption, the Cube of Malice. This is the Lava Imbued one. And the second one off of Ursoc, the Reverberating Femur. So it's nice that this one actually drops 2. It's pretty cool. I mean, there's going to be some changes where Lava Burst is going to be doing a little bit more damage. If you guys checked out the Q&A that was just a couple hours ago, you'll understand what I'm talking about. Going on to Lord Kurtalis Ravencrest from the dungeon Blackrook Hold. He drops one. It's a Frost Relic. There you go. And the last one, Lady Hate Coil from the Eye of Ajara dungeon. There's your last Lava Imbued one. So let's go over legendaries now. There's a few things that I want to point out. Here's a chart, first of all. And again, all of the charts and all the information that I'm talking about in this video can be found on the Shaman Discord server named Earth Shrine. I almost blanked there for a sec. But there you go. All the information can be found there. If you guys haven't even checked it out yet, I definitely recommend it. Just Google Earth Shrine Discord server. You can get the invite there. Totally worth it. There's so much information on there. It's amazing. All the shamans just band together. They ask questions to each other. They answer it. They help each other out. It's amazing. So let's talk about this. So starting off with the chart that we see in front of us. The chart basically reads what legendary gives us a percentage increase and how much that percentage increase is. This is only half the chart, and again I'm going to be putting the full chart and the graph information down below. The only reason that I'm putting half of this chart up on the screen right now is because these 4 legendaries that you see on screen are the only ones that increase our single target. This is a single target based informational guide on the legendaries, and the best 2 legendaries for AoE are definitely going to be your Bracers and your Ring, the Seifu's Secret. Kind of sucks, but I have it, whatever. It's good for Mythic Plus. So let's talk about what these legendaries do and how they increase your damage. So the shoulders, the boots, the ring, and the belt. Let's pull them up in game here. The shoulders gives you haste and mastery. Your Earth Shock has up to a 50% chance, based on Maelstrom spend, to cause your next Earthquake to be free and deal 100% increased damage. Now, it only has up to a 50% chance when you're at 100 Maelstrom. So that's what it's talking about. This effect is amazing for single target. It's going to change up your rotation a little bit, but it's going to be more fun. I think it's going to be really, really cool. I haven't even gotten these yet, but I've heard from other shamans that have talked to me about it, and they say it's amazing, it's really cool, it's fun, it's just like an extra like spice to the rotation. It's really cool. I keep saying it's really cool and fun and awesome, because it is. It's Earthquake. Who doesn't like Earthquake? Next, we're going to be talking about the Pristine Protoscale Girdle. This legendary is sadly not performing very well. It does better with Ascendance, the talent Ascendance, but even then, like, it's not doing a lot of damage. 6,000 is not a lot of damage. Stacking up to 5 times. It's just, you can't hold that very much unless you're using Echo of the Elements. And you're using Ascendance. Like, it doesn't really work that well with your rotation if you're using Lightning Rod. So it doesn't do a lot of damage. Going over to your boots. Your boots are your second best legendary, and it works really, really well with the shoulders, especially if they keep proccing together. It's amazing. The combination is spectacular. So your Earth Shock has a 30% chance to refund all of the Maelstrom spent. This is pretty much going back to Warlords of Draenor, the last tier. I think it was Hellfire Citadel raid. Your 2 set on that, your 2 set tier bonus on that raid did the exact same thing. So I'm pretty sure they just took it from there and put it on here, but gave it a little bit of a less chance to proc. I've heard of people having this proc back to back up to like 10 times. Like, it's been nuts. All at 100 Maelstrom. It's critting like crazy. Like, they're just like, oh my god, spamming their buttons. It's nuts. So I've heard some really cool stories about that. Moving on to the ring. And I want to do a little bit of information on this, especially with dealing with Ice Fury. The talent Ice Fury. So let's talk about what it does. Damaging enemies with your Fire, Frost, or Nature abilities increases all damage you deal by 2% for 8 seconds. Each element adding a separate application. To note, it's not worth going into Ice Fury if you have this ring. It's just not worth it. Ice Fury is fun to play, but it's really high risk, and the extra 2% you're gaining from that Frost Shock on your overall damage just isn't worth it, because you're and I'll give you a few reasons why. You're spending most of your Maelstrom on Frost Shocks. You also have to keep up your Flame Shock and your fire damage, as well as your nature, right? Having your shocks up all the time, you're going to be using 3 separate shocks. And you're spreading out your resources for those 3 applications of the 2% buff too thin in that situation, as well as Ice Fury just not performing as good as Primal Elementalist. It just doesn't do it as much. Just doesn't perform as well. It's lackluster, and honestly, I wish it was doing better. I've done a lot of testing on it. I've made some videos discussing Ice Fury. You guys can check those out if you want. But I wanted to say that the ring, if you have it, isn't worth going into Ice Fury. It's a high risk, low reward kind of talent build. And that is right now. Things are subject to change, obviously. But let's move on into the video. Now we're going to talk about build paths. On the screen, you're going to see a build path, and let's explain here what it reads. Obviously, for some people, it's going to be pretty straightforward, but I want to just go into depth as to what it's saying. There's numbers on the side of it. We're talking about the right image, not the left. There's numbers on the side, basically telling you a priority of what traits you should be going into. So, in this section of the video, let's talk about what the names of the spells are, what they do, and what it's going to look like as you progress. Starting off with Stormkeeper as your main trait, and then going into Surge of Power, which increases your damage dealt by Lightning Bolt by 50%. From there, you're going to go into Firestorm, which increases your Flame Shock damage. Your Elementalist, every time you cast Lava Burst, the remaining cooldown on your Fire Elemental is reduced by 2 seconds. From there, Protection of the Elements, which increases your Healing Surge by a percentage. Molten Blast increases the critical strike damage dealt by your Lava Burst. From there, your first Golden Dragon. This is probably the bread and butter of the artifact. I love this ability. I mean, yeah, of course, Stormkeeper is your bread and butter, but it just works so well with Stormkeeper. It's amazing, especially when it procs on your burst. It's great. So, Power of the Maelstrom. When you cast Lava Burst, you have a chance to supercharge Fist of Braden, which is your artifact, causing your next 3 lightning bolts, or not chain lightnings, next 3 lightning bolts only to trigger Elemental Overload an additional time. So, Elemental Overload is your mastery, and you have a percentage for it to cast again, but at a lower percentage of damage, and refund Maelstrom. Power of the Maelstrom allows it to proc 100% once, and your mastery still has a chance to proc on the spell as well. So you can cast 1 lightning bolt, and 3 lightning bolts will hit the target. It's pretty great. From there, you're going to go into Static Overload, and I'll tell you why this is an amazing trait on your artifact weapon. Your Chain Lightning has a 10% chance to cause Elemental Overload to trigger on every target. So, that being said, if there's 5 targets in front of you and your Chain Lightning hits all of them, and it procs, it's then going to proc a Chain Lightning on every single one of those targets as if they were the primary targets, and the Chain Lightning is going to trigger off of everything else. So you're hitting let's see, 5 times 5, so 25 targets with Chain Lightning. Pretty much. It's insane. It's pretty damn good. You can dish out an amazing amount of damage. I've seen my one Chain Lightning turn into like 2 million damage overall. It's nuts. It's insane. Plus you feel like a goddamn Sith Lord. It's insane. Okay. Moving on. Going into Lava Imbued. Increases your damage dealt by Lava Burst by 12%. Right now I have a trait in it. That's really good for Ascendants. As I said, this trait is your #1 for Relic choosing. Going into Call of the Thunder. Call the Thunder. Increases nature damage by 1% per point. This is really great for your Lightning Rod talents. I have a trait in it as well, or a relic. And then from there, your Fury of the Storms. Activating Stormkeeper summons a powerful lightning elemental. It's really not that powerful. It doesn't do a lot of damage. It's just what it says. To fight by your side for 8 seconds. This feels actually a little lackluster. I wish they kind of changed it up a little bit. Maybe increase its damage or the duration of how long it stayed out for. It just doesn't feel like it's doing a whole lot for a golden dragon trait. But things are subject to change. It's still early in the expansion. Next, after you go into this Fury of the Storms trait, you're going to come up here into the Ground Trembles, increasing your Earthquake damage by 15% at your max level of it. So that when you have 3 traits into it, 13%. Going into Earthen Attunement, increasing your Earth Shock damage by 4% per point into it, max up at rank 3. And it says here in the image to the right, it says here that Volcanic Inferno should be next. But I've done some testing with it, and unless you're running Ascendants, Volcanic Inferno doesn't do a lot of damage. I have had situations where RNG just doesn't work in my favor, and it's doing less damage than my food buff, which is Fishbowl Special. Has a chance to put out a Fury of Fireballs, which does like, I don't know, 100k damage every time it comes out or something like that. Maybe like 70 to 80k damage every time it procs. This is supposed to do 132k fire damage over 6 seconds to all enemies within 3 yards. Not a lot of enemies are going to be stacked in a 3-yard radius at any given time. So I think that the amount of damage that it does over an area can be changed, as well as the amount of times it can proc if you're using Lava Burst. It doesn't work well with Lightning Rod. That's what I've been trying to say. I use Lightning Rod because it's pretty much the go-to. It's better performing than Ascendants on almost every situation. And that being said, Volcanic Inferno doesn't perform well with your Lightning Rod spec or talent build because you're not using Lava Burst all the time like you are Ascendants. With Ascendants, you're putting down tons of Volcanic Inferno fissures. It's insane how many can go out, and it does a lot of damage. I've seen it do more damage than both of my Trinkets when I'm running Ascendants, but if you're not, I mean, it just kind of is a little lackluster. That being said, Electric Discharge is very, very nice for Mythic Plus, as well as cleave fights like Dragons of Nightmare, or when you have to AoE stuff, like an Il'gynoth, the Heart of Corruption. Those 2 bosses in the Emerald Nightmare, Electric Discharge just seems to be a lot more useful. So if you're taking that into consideration, and obviously you don't have to listen to me, but this is what I did before I went into Volcanic Inferno. I went down to Electric Discharge and Master of the Elements before I went into Volcanic Inferno, and my damage has been fine. I do great numbers for my class, and I didn't honestly need the Last Golden Dragon. It's only a little bit better. It's like that. It's so marginal of a damage increase for me that I think I made the right decision based on what my class or my character has for gear and stuff. So that was my decision alone. But it may not work for you guys especially if you guys would like to run Ascendants or just don't want to skip out on a Golden Dragon trait. So again, talking after that, we're if you take the Golden Dragon trait from taking this path, obviously you're going to come down here lastly into Electric Discharge, increasing your Chain Lightning damage by 15%. Master of the Elements increases damage dealt by Elemental Overload by 12%, which is your mastery, by the way. And then Shamanistic Healing. This is your last trait that you're going to go into. When your health drops below 35%, Fist of Ra-Den heals you for 151,530 health. Can only occur once every 3 seconds. This stacks up to 3 times in the ranks. From there, you're obviously just going to be putting stacks into Stormkeeper's Power, which increases your damage, increases all damage by 5%. I think it's per trait, or it might be less of a percentage every trait that you put into it. But either way, that's what the build path is pretty much looking like. And that pretty much covers everything that I was going to do in this video. Again, thank you guys so much for coming and watching the video today. If you like my videos, subscribe to them. I drop them almost every week. If not, like, I'm going to be trying to do a lot more videos and collabing with some people on Elemental Shaman guides and whatnot. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram. I'm going to be putting those links down in the video's description down below. You can follow my live stream. I stream almost every day. You can come check me out, ask me questions all the time, message me in game. I'm on Sargeras, the realm of Sargeras, the US realm. But yes, if you guys have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. Comment down in the videos comment section down below, and I can get back to you as soon as I can. I'm pretty good with that right now, so I get back to you guys relatively quickly. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Peace.